I didn't start the notebook with revenge in mind. I started it because I was tired of guessing, tired of waking up in a house that smelled like perfume I didn't buy and wine I didn't drink, tired of hearing it was just a girl's night every time she came home with glitter in places glitter shouldn't be. No, when I cracked open that little black moleskine, it wasn't rage, it was curiosity. Curiosity with a pen. I wrote down the first entry on a Thursday night while she was out, getting drinks with Lacey. Lacey, the same friend who once whispered, if I were 5 years younger and a little more reckless, while touching my arm. Yeah, that Lacey. Entry 1. 8:17 p.m., Uber charge on our card. Pickup, our address. Destination, Savoy Hotel rooftop bar. Alone. No group text bus. No photos posted. Silence until 12:41 a.m. when she stumbles in with, "Why are you still up?" That was the start. Not exactly Pulitzer material, but it felt like loading the first shell into the chamber. I started logging everything. Not because I wanted to trap her, but because deep down, I already knew. The late meetings. The new lingerie she claimed was on clearance. The sudden interest in Brazilian waxes and yoga. I was seeing a transformation that didn't include me. So I turned into something between a husband and a human spreadsheet. Receipts, screenshots, whispers. Notes on who liked her photos and when. I wasn't obsessed. I was documenting history before it rewrote itself without me. And every so often, she'd say things like, "You've been quiet lately." To which I'd reply, just reflecting. She thought it was sweet. Sweet. The truth is, I wasn't plotting. Not yet. I was studying. You don't walk into battle with bruises and blind faith. You walk in with evidence. With timing. With surgical precision. I wasn't going to blow up my life over suspicion. I was going to let her hand me the detonator. But the thing about betrayal? It's patient. It wants you to doubt yourself just long enough for it to get comfortable. And she got comfortable. So I kept writing. And waiting. They say once is a mistake, twice is a choice. Well, I hit twice by the second week. Entry 5. Friday, 9:53 p.m., staying at Lacey's again. Yet Lacey posts an Instagram story from Napa with her fiancé. No Ashley in sight. Meanwhile, our shared Amex shows a $187 charge at Delilah's Lounge for 2 old fashions, a lobster roll, and an entree labeled the Lover's Special. I sat at home, eating microwave lasagna and recording my findings like I was filing tax fraud. I wasn't even angry, just impressed by the sheer boldness. She'd learned to weaponize vague statements. Out with friends, team bonding, I need space, all terms designed to sound harmless while doing damage. There was a new perfume, too. Something floral with a base note of deceit. She wore it when she left and scrubbed it off before bed. But smells linger. Like guilt. Or, apparently, receipts. And oh, the expenses. Entry 11. $264.88. Spa day for girls. Except her text to Lacey at 2:16 p.m. said, "Tell him we're at the spa, just in case." Tell him. Not, I told him. Not, he knows. Tell him. Like I was some distant uncle, not the man who tiled the bathroom floor with his own 2 hands. Like I needed updates to a life I was supposedly living. That's when the pattern started to crystallize. Tuesday nights were suddenly sacred. Book club, she said. Funny thing, I've known Ashley for 8 years. The only books she's read in that time are menus and skincare labels. So I followed a hunch. I took one of her old phones, the one she didn't use anymore, and booted it up. She'd wiped the apps, sure. But she forgot about iCloud backups. Her camera roll lit up like Times Square. Photos. Lots of them. One in particular caught my eye. Her, sipping wine on a balcony with a man's arm wrapped casually around her waist. The sleeve of his shirt was rolled to the elbow, revealing a familiar-looking watch. Not mine. Too flashy. Too gold. Like the kind a guy wears when he wants people to notice he's got more ego than time. I zoomed in. Same guy who popped up in another entry. Entry 14. $89.50. Uber to Joshua's penthouse saved address. Return ride 5 hours later. Different drop-off point, 2 blocks from our house. She couldn't even lie in a straight line. She curved it, twisted it, then tied it into a bow. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. That's the thing about catching someone in the act, timing matters. You don't yell in the middle of the play. You wait for the final scene. And so I kept writing. The notebook was thicker now. Heavy with truth. It sat under my mattress, a silent witness to the death of us. She kept smiling like nothing was wrong. Kept kissing me on the cheek like guilt didn't stain her lips. And I kept smiling back. Because the moment was coming. And when it did, it wouldn't be a confrontation. It would be a presentation. It happened on a Sunday. Of course it did. Betrayal always hides behind days that should feel safe. We were in the kitchen, me sipping coffee, her pretending to scroll Pinterest, probably messaging him. Then she hit me with it. Logan, we need to talk. Honestly. Like, really talk. That's the line. The infidelity version of, we need to check your engine light. You don't hear it until the car's already on fire. I didn't flinch. I just nodded, like a man waiting to board a flight he knows is going down. She sat across from me at the dining table. Same spot she used to laugh in, barefoot, sipping red wine while we planned imaginary trips to Italy. Now she looked serious. Hair curled like she was ready for a courtroom. Or a performance. I haven't been happy, she started. Eyes glassy but dry. Always dry. Ashley never cried unless there was someone watching. I feel disconnected. Like we're roommates. Like I'm living a script I didn't write. I raised an eyebrow. You finished? She blinked. What? I reached under the table. Pulled out the notebook. Dropped it with a thud between us. Her face froze, like a kid who just realized the babysitter is their parole officer. I flipped it open to the first flag page. Color-coded, with dates. I even tabbed the juicy ones. This is March 12th, I said calmly. You told me you were visiting your mom. But you were at a rooftop bar with a man named Josh. You ordered the lover's special. Twice. That was the night you came home and said your mom was sick. Her lips parted. I flipped again. April 2nd. Hotel. Hilton downtown. You checked in under your maiden name. Room 709. Check out at 3:18 p.m. Uber drop-off logged at a block from our home. That was the day you said Lacey's baby shower ran long. Still silent. Another page. May 7th. You bought lingerie at La Belle Rouge, $186. You told me it was for a boudoir shoot you were planning as a surprise for our anniversary. But you wore it that same night to a dinner with him. I leaned forward. I counted everything, Ashley. Every lie, every dime, every mile you traveled to keep this going. I counted everything. Then I shut the book. Except trust, I said, voice low but steady. Because you destroyed that right away. Her mouth moved, but nothing came out. No tears. No rage. Just the eerie silence of someone who knows the mask is cracked. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she mumbled. Classic line. Like she tripped and fell into a 3-month affair and just couldn't find the exit. But you did, I replied. And that's the only part that matters. She reached for the notebook. I pulled it back. No, this is mine. You don't get to edit history just because you don't like how it ends. She stood up. Where do we go from here? She asked. I looked her square in the eyes. Oh, I know exactly where we go. But not yet. First, you're going to spend a few nights wondering just how much I know and who I've told. I stood, slid the chair in, and left the room. Revenge? Oh, it was coming. But it wouldn't be loud. It would be elegant. Cruel in the way truth always is when it comes gift-wrapped with receipts. She didn't follow me upstairs. That was new. Ashley, queen of confrontation, high priestess of performative concern, just stood there frozen by the weight of evidence and the quiet thunder in my voice. I think that scared her more than yelling ever could. She'd seen me angry before. She'd seen me disappointed. But this calm detachment? This was new territory. And people like her, they don't handle silence well. Upstairs, I sat on the edge of the bed she hadn't slept in for real in weeks. Her pillow was still fluffed, undisturbed, like even her dreams couldn't lie next to me anymore. I glanced at the small vanity where she used to leave love notes, now just scattered lipsticks and half-truths. I wasn't sleeping. That wasn't part of the plan. No, I entered what I now call the ghost phase. That's the part where you stop arguing. Stop explaining. Stop asking questions she never intended to answer. You simply float. Silent. Watching. A ghost in your own home. And oh, how that shook her. For the next week, I became a phantom. Present, but not participating. She'd walk in after work, later than usual, of course, with her forced cheer. Hey, babe, you want anything from that Thai place you like? I'd look up from a book, nod once, and go back to reading. No smile. No warmth. Just enough interaction to let her feel the distance like a draft in a warm room. Sometimes she'd ask, "Are you okay?" And I'd reply, "Why wouldn't I be?" Deadpan. Unbothered. The truth was, I wasn't okay. But I also wasn't broken. I was building. Quietly. Strategically. She didn't know I had already met with a lawyer. A sharp one. The kind who smiles like a shark and keeps pins that cost more than my first car. We'd drawn up a plan, contingencies, asset tracking, even clauses I'd never heard of, but nodded to like a seasoned assassin signing a hit contract. Turns out, she'd made a few financial mistakes. Opened credit cards I never approved. Used joint funds to cover hotel rooms, flights, even a business retreat that was nothing more than a long weekend with Josh the watch-wearing wonder boy. We were going to use that. Every bit of it. But until then, ghost mode. She started to squirm. On the third day, she left her phone on the counter. Unlocked. A test. I didn't touch it. She wanted me to snap. Wanted me to go back to the old version of myself. The one who begged for honesty, who cried behind closed doors when she said she was just tired. But that man was gone. I had buried him somewhere between entry 27 and the receipt from the lingerie shop. Instead, I started waking up earlier. Made breakfast for one. Went for morning runs, even though I hated running. The point wasn't health, it was control. She tried to poke holes in the silence. "You're acting weird," she said over dinner, stabbing her salad like it owed her money. "I've just got a lot on my mind," I replied. She tilted her head. "Is this still about that notebook?" I looked at her like she'd asked if I was still mad about a house fire that burned down my childhood dog. Wouldn't you like to know? That night, I found her crying in the bathroom. Loud enough to be heard, but not enough to wake the neighbors. I didn't interrupt. I didn't ask if she was okay. I just brushed my teeth, glanced once at her reflection, and walked out. See, when you're dealing with someone who builds their reality on attention, the worst thing you can do is give them nothing. I started making calls late at night in the garage, just loud enough for her to hear a second voice. Not saying anything incriminating. Just murmurs. Laughter. Something vague enough to make her imagination do the heavy lifting. Let her wonder. Let her squirm. She started asking questions. "Who are you talking to at midnight? Old friend. Male or female?" I shrugged. I didn't ask. The day before everything detonated, she tried the soft approach. Sat on the couch next to me, legs touching, smile hesitant. "I've been thinking," she said. "Maybe we should take a weekend trip. Clear the air. You and me. Somewhere quiet." She almost had me. Almost. But I'd seen the charges. I knew the last quiet weekend she took had included a private pool suite and room service for two. So I smiled. "Sure," I said. "Let's go somewhere quiet." And I meant it. Very quiet. I had just one more thing to do. That evening, after she fell asleep, probably exhausted from faking guilt all day, I opened the hidden compartment in my closet, pulled out the second notebook, the one she didn't know about. This one didn't track her cheating. It tracked her enablers. Lacey, who covered for her, even when I asked directly. Her coworker Melissa, who once accidentally texted me, thinking I was Josh. Even her mother, who told me last Christmas, "Ashley's just finding herself." Well, I hope they liked what she found. Because tomorrow, I was mailing packages to all of them. Copies of texts, photos, charges, the works. Neatly organized, color-coded, each with a personal note. Thought you should know what your support has funded. I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was ending the illusion that helped it rot. Tomorrow would be the reckoning. And my ghost face? That was just the prelude. If there's something surgical about revenge done right. It isn't loud. It doesn't happen in a flurry of rage. It happens quietly, like a scalpel, not a chainsaw. That's how I approached the day everything came undone. I woke up before sunrise. No alarm. Just a gut-level certainty that today was the day. While Ashley slept soundly, wrapped in the same comforter I once bought her as a just-because gift, I slipped out of bed, showered, shaved, and brewed coffee like it was any other Tuesday. Normal. Calm. Except it wasn't. I dressed with more care than usual. Crisp shirt, clean slacks, leather watch I hadn't worn in months. Not because I needed to look good, for her. That ship had already sunk, but because I wanted to feel solid. Grounded. Like the man she forgot I was. Downstairs, I laid out the packages, each addressed with elegant precision, like wedding invitations. Irony, I know. Lacey, Melissa, her boss, her mother. Even Josh got a special one, wrapped in red, because I figured it matched the color of his ego. Each envelope contained a copy of the notebook entries relevant to them. Proof. Screenshots. Transaction records. Annotated pages from my log. I didn't add commentary, just facts. Dates, times, receipts. I wanted them to see, with cold clarity, the exact weight of the lie they helped carry. Then I placed the biggest envelope on the dining table. That one had her name on it. Ashley, just her name. No insults. No theatrics. Just a clean envelope and the truth it deserved. I called a courier service at 7:01 a.m. Scheduled the deliveries to arrive by 11. Then I sat back and sipped my coffee like a man waiting for the sun to rise on a battlefield he already wired with explosives. At 8:24, Ashley wandered into the kitchen, bleary-eyed, wearing the same robe she used to wear when she'd greet me with a kiss. This morning? No kiss. Just an obligatory nod and a half-hearted morning. I didn't say anything. Just slid a single sheet of paper toward her. It was a printed itinerary. "What's this?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "Your schedule for today," I said. She blinked at me, then read it. Her name, her address, courier drop-off windows, locations. Then she looked up, confused. "Are we getting deliveries?" "No," I said. "You are." Before she could process that, I stood. "I'll be gone most of the day. Should be fun." And I walked out. I didn't go to work. I drove to a small coffee shop 2 towns over, parked in the back corner, and waited. Not for a call. Not for a text. Just for time to do what it always does, reveal. At 10:38, the first call came. Lacey. Declined. 10:42, her boss. Followed by a text. "Logan, we need to talk." I had no idea. "Sure you didn't, Greg." 10:55, her mother. 3 missed calls. Voicemail full by 11:15. And then, the main event. 11:21 a.m. Ashley. I let it ring. Again. And again. 12 missed calls. 3 voicemails. One from her, crying. One from her, screaming. And one that was just silent. The kind of silence that sounds like a house with no roof during a storm. I gave it until 1 p.m. When I finally answered, my tone was polite. Measured. "You got the envelope, I assume." "Logan," her voice cracked. "What did you do?" "Nothing new. Just made sure the people who defended you got a clearer picture of who they were fighting for." "You humiliated me." "No. You did that all by yourself. I just provided footnotes." There was a pause. The kind that tastes like desperation. "You want to ruin my life?" she said, quieter now. "No, Ashley. I wanted to understand it. But when I realized I couldn't, I did the next best thing. I made sure everyone else saw it for what it was." She whispered something I didn't catch. Maybe a curse. Maybe a prayer. "You could have just left," she muttered. "I did," I said. "You just didn't notice because I was still physically here. But I left the second you decided I wasn't enough and started auditioning replacements." Then I hung up. That evening, when I returned home, she was waiting. The house was darker than usual. Quiet. She sat at the dining table, clutching the envelope like it was a ticking bomb. "I lost my job," she said. I nodded. Her company had a strict code of conduct. Affairs within the office, especially when they involve billing expenses, aren't exactly something HR winks at. "My mom isn't speaking to me." "Good," I said. "That makes 2 of us." She stood up, tears in her eyes now. "You wanted to destroy me." "No," I replied. "I wanted you to feel a fraction of what it's like to wake up in a life you didn't sign up for. To look around and realize everything you built was a lie. That people you trusted smiled to your face while hollowing you out behind your back." She stepped closer. "What happens now?" I tilted my head. "Well, now you leave. Or I do. Either way, this chapter ends." "And what about us?" she asked. I smiled. "There is no us. There's just you and a long, quiet walk through the wreckage you made." She didn't follow me upstairs. Again, she didn't leave. I gave her the chance. The grace. A door wide open and a warning. Walk through it while there's still a handle to grab. But Ashley didn't move. She just stood there in that dining room like a statue of regret, clutching the envelope like it might start bleeding if she squeezed hard enough. And me? I didn't press. I went upstairs. Packed my things. Not dramatically. Not with slamming drawers or poetic sighs. Just methodically, like a man folding away a life that no longer fit. Shirts. Shaving kit. What she gave me on our 3rd anniversary, which, ironically, she had paid for using a joint gift fund, I later discovered was actually just my debit card and her charm. As I zipped the bag, I looked around the bedroom one last time. This was the room we first painted together. She picked a color called Midnight Blush, which was really just gray that hadn't committed to anything yet. Kind of like us, in hindsight. That room had seen real moments. Joy. Pain. Those quiet 2 a.m. conversations when the world felt too big and all we had was each other. But that was a different woman. A different me. Now, it was just drywall and echoes. When I came back downstairs, Ashley was still frozen, still staring at the envelope like she could will it to disappear. She spoke without looking at me. Where will you go? I could have lied. Could have said a friend's house, a hotel, something vague and temporary. But I wanted her to feel the weight. I signed a lease yesterday, I said. Short-term rental. Fully furnished. 0 memories. Her lip quivered. So that's it. That was it months ago, I said. You just hadn't been informed. I walked to the door, duffel bag in hand. She followed, barefoot, moving like her bones had aged 30 years in the span of an afternoon. Logan, she said, voice soft now, almost human again. I made a mistake. I turned. No, I said. You made a series of decisions. Let's not insult both of us by calling it a mistake. A mistake is a wrong turn. You built a whole new route and left me on the side of the road with the map. She blinked fast, trying to swallow tears. Was it really that easy for you to let go? I stared at her. The woman I once thought I'd grow old with. The woman who could read my face better than I could. No, I said. But it became necessary. And once something becomes necessary, ease doesn't matter. She reached out like she wanted to touch me. Maybe out of instinct. Maybe just to feel something real. I stepped back. No, I said again. Her hand dropped. There's a special kind of silence between two people who've run out of excuses. The kind that tastes like dust and finality. We stood in that for a beat. Then 2. Finally, I opened the door. Goodbye, Ashley. I stepped out into the sun, bag over my shoulder. No dramatic soundtrack. No tears down my cheek. Just quiet. Just air. And for the first time in a long while, it didn't feel like a weight. It felt like space. Like breathing room. Like clarity. I got in the car and drove. The rental was small. Sparse. The kind of place where the walls haven't heard any arguments yet, and the kitchen doesn't smell like anyone's favorite meal. Just wood floors, white counters, and peace. It was perfect. That first night, I sat on the small balcony with a whiskey neat and the notebook in my lap. I flipped through it, not to reopen wounds, but to remind myself of the man who had written it. He was careful, observant, patient. He'd watched his world crumble around him, and instead of picking up the bricks blindly, he'd drawn a blueprint for something better. And now, I owed him a future. So I opened a new page. Notebook number 2, entry 1. Location, new apartment. Rent paid through February. No echoes here. No ghosts. Just possibility. Step 1. Rebuild not what was lost, but what should have been built all along. I closed the book. Took a sip. Let the silence fill me. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was clear-eyed, grounded, and most of all, I was free. The next morning, I got a call. From her. I let it ring. Then, slowly, I turned off the phone. Because some doors don't need to be slammed. They just need to be locked on your way out. Ashley assumed the worst was behind her. That I'd moved on, and she'd gotten off with some embarrassment and a bruised ego. What she didn't know, I had been working behind the scenes. A friend of mine in finance flagged something for me months earlier. Someone had added my name to a secondary mortgage on a property I didn't even know existed. A cozy weekend home, bought during her affair, under the guise of a rental investment. So I leaned on a legal contact, proved my signature was forged, and filed a fraud complaint. That triggered a financial audit. And oh boy, turns out Ashley had been juggling 3 different cards, racking up debt under my name. Her assets? Frozen. Her freedom fund? Evaporated. That rental property? Repossessed. I didn't want her money. I just wanted her to remember that actions cost something. When she got the court notice, she showed up at my new place, fuming. How could you do this? I met her at the door. Calm. Collected. I didn't do anything, I said. You did. I just made sure the bill finally came due. One by one, her world began to collapse. Lacey lost her job after her employer received a copy of her texts encouraging Ashley to cheat, on company time, using a work phone. That's a no-no when you're in HR. Melissa's husband saw the screenshots I'd mailed anonymous, of course. Divorce filed. She messaged me once, begging me to retract the email. I sent a single emoji in response, a scales of justice. And then, Chase, the man she cheated with. He showed up at a quiet bar we both knew. Bag under his eyes, hands shaking. She's not what I thought, he muttered. She's poison. I nodded. Welcome to the club. He tried to apologize. I didn't need it. I wasn't angry at him anymore. I had moved beyond revenge and into poetic balance. I finished my drink, stood up, and said, "Now you get to be the cleanup guy. Have fun with that." Ashley made one final move. She filed a complaint accusing me of emotional abuse. Said I'd manipulated her into depression. Claimed I'd sabotaged her career. The police called. I answered calmly. Explained how I documented everything, dates, charges, screenshots. Provided it all to my lawyer. They dropped the case before it even got to the paperwork. Her last Hail Mary fell short. She texted me later that night. "You turned everyone against me." I replied, "You did that all by yourself. I just provided the highlighter." No response. She faded after that. Moved in with a relative. Deleted social media. She became, for once in her life, invisible. And I was finally unburdened. I don't know what peace looks like for most people. For me, it was a Saturday morning coffee and silence. It was going to the gym and feeling sweat instead of rage. It was walking past the places we used to go and not flinching. I even ran into her sister one night, Rachel. Kind, honest Rachel. She told me she tried to warn Ashley, that Ashley had always been addicted to validation and couldn't stand being alone. She never loved anyone, Rachel said. Only the idea of being loved. I nodded. Then she lost the one person who actually did. We sat for a while. Talked about family, about starting over. I didn't ask for anything more. Because I wasn't looking for a new chapter. I was finally closing the book. And as I left the bar that night, I smiled for the first time in a long time. Not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I survived the betrayal and still knew who I was on the other side.